Okay, hello. It's lovely to see so many people here. There's some really cool things going on at this time, so I'm very honoured that you've chosen mine. There's a talk going on with arousal in the title, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was me, I'd be choosing that one. So thank you very much. I hope you're having a great weekend. It's great so far, isn't it? 2 words. Well, 1 word and 1 acronym. IATEFL, Brighton. Life doesn't get much better than that, really, does it? So, is everybody comfortable? Is some people standing? Is everybody... Hello. My name's Jamie Keddie. I've come from Barcelona, but I come from Scotland. I teach and I do a bit of teacher training, a bit of writing. I do some other things as well, but not relevant to what we're talking about today. And I have a website called Lesson Stream. It used to be called IATEFL Clips. It's been given a facelift, and it's now called Lesson Stream. And I share a lot of activities. Each of the activities on my website, Lesson Stream, is a piece of inspiration, really. Inspiration from materials, the vast majority of which have come from the internet. So I'm very, very interested and motivated, inspired by online materials, and that's why I'm very interested in this word authenticity. Just before I tell you what we're going to do, can I ask if you put your hands up if there's anybody here who skis?
Skis? Water skiing? I don't do that.
Well, it could be water skiing. No, it can't be water skiing, no. Sorry. By the analogy, it has to be skiing like this. Skiing on snow. Actually, I started skiing. I'm a very, very bad skier, but I started skiing on the biggest artificial ski slope in Europe. It's called Hill End, and it's very near Edinburgh. And it's awful. It's like, I don't know if you've ever skied an artificial ski slope. It's like inverted toothbrush. The bristles, you fall, it hurts. You see? And there's no snow, it's just this sort of bristle. You have to ski on bristle. If you want to go off-piste, well, basically you can't. You just forget that idea. If I say off-piste, do you know what I'm talking about? So we keep on the pistes, don't we? We have to keep on the pistes, especially if you're skiing on a designated ski slope. Put your hand up if you like to go off-piste. So we're a lot of off-piste skiers. Often we're not allowed to go off-piste. The regulations state that it's dangerous and you're not allowed to go off-piste, don't they, you know? Beyond this point, there is no rescue. Don't go at your own peril. Leave this point. Relate the analogy to our own lives as teachers. How many teachers, practicing teachers have we got? Just let me see your hands.
How many?
This is great. Now as teachers, we've got 2 possibilities. We stay on-piste, the piste being that which is dictated by the syllabus or the curriculum or the expectations, that which we have to do. Or we can go off-piste. We can go out on our own, be influenced and inspired by those materials and those tasks and those practices and those activities and those techniques which aren't actually dictated by the piste, by the curriculum, by the syllabus. And I think it's interesting to see where you stand as a teacher. There's no such thing as a 100% on-piste teacher. There's no such thing as a 100% off-piste teacher. It's how much on-piste are you, how much off-piste are you. Do you get this analogy?
Yeah.
Put your hand up if you think you're more on-piste. Don't lie now. Put your hand up if you think you're more off-piste. Well, I mean, we have to take this into account. I'm very much an off-piste teacher. And that's not always a good thing, because that often means that you don't give in to students' expectations. And you've always got to juggle, so you've always got to make sure there's a bit of an off-piste. Sorry, a bit of piste in all of us. What I'm wanting to do is, when you go off-piste, it can be dangerous, can't it? It really can be dangerous. You've got avalanches. There's no rescue coming your way if you have an accident. But the snow is just so much fluffier and whiter and juicier for us not to take advantage of it, am I right? And that's the thing, but there's the dangers. So this talk is about those dangers, those traps that are waiting for us when we decide to go off-piste and take inspiration from that outside. Let me show what I'm talking about. 10 years ago, this is what materials used to look like 10 years ago. This is what materials look like now. This is the off-piste. This is a visualization of the World Wide Web. So what I want to do is I want to share with you just 3 aspects of what we might call inauthentic material, each of which may present a different trap, and I want to give you 3 different ways of avoiding those traps. Okay, let me show you the 3 different characteristics of what we may call authentic material. Would you agree with these definitions? Materials which are not created specifically for language learners, not created to illustrate a language point, not adapted for language learners, but are irresistible because they're too white and fluffy and snowy for us to say no to. But each of these, if you can, and if you can categorise authentic or inauthentic or authentic material in this way, then this actually gives us 3 different challenges. Now what I want you to do is just share with you 3 ideas, 3 teaching ideas, 3 activities which tackles each of these potential traps, okay? So should we go into the first one? This is avoiding the traps. Okay, first one, materials which are not specifically created for language learners. Now we often talk about pre-teaching language, pre-teaching unknown words, pre-teaching the vocabulary, the lexis, whatever. That's big culture of that going on in what we do. I want to play a clip for you. I want to play a video clip from you. It's a clip that I really like. It's a clip that I've used in my classroom. It presents some problems though. I want you to just think, first of all, would you use this in the classroom? And secondly, do you get it? Alright, maybe it'd be better the other way around. First of all, do you get it? Secondly, do you use it in the classroom? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, we're joined now here in the studio by 2 artists, Brad Lockall, who's a conceptual artist, and by Charles Thompson, who is one of the founder of Stuckism. Just explain what Stuckism is, please.
Well, Stuckism is a movement that simply says the best way to do art at the moment is painting pictures.
And it's called Stuckism because...
It's called Stuckism because Tracy Emin, whom we've just seen, or at least her work, said of my friend Billy Childish that he was stuck and his paintings were stuck. And I thought in the line of art history that an insult is a good title, as in Impressionism, for example. We should call ourselves Stuckists.
So, I take it from that you don't rate any of those Turner Prize shortlist?
Not as art, no. Well, I think there's little bits of interesting photography, interesting cinema that can go into another arena. The bed and the knickers are obviously quite completely absurd. And the video by the Wilson twins, I've seen something similar at the Serpentine, and let me assure you, it's totally boring.
No, I've seen it. I mean, I wouldn't say it was totally boring. It was...
Well, it repeats every 5 minutes, so if, if you're there for more than 5...
You're supposed to spend all evening there. Now, what do you reckon?
Well, I think it's undisputably art. Whether it's good or bad art is another question. It's art, and to say it's not is, you know...
Why is it art?
It's art because it really is talking about our experiences in the world and trying to deal with those experiences in the world. They're very complex experiences, and taking them outside of the everyday and placing them in another context. It might not necessarily be very good. It might be very, very bad. But it's definitely art.
Well, it's not undisputably art because I'm disputing it, so it is disputable. I'm afraid. We dispute it very strongly. There's a lot of people that dispute it. In fact, I'd say most people in this country dispute it.
Well, they may well dispute it. But the question is, if people say it's art, it's art.
Well, I think that's absolute rubbish.
So you could say anything is art?
You just have.
You could say everything is art. But the point is that...
Is my shoe art?
Be brave and put up your hand if you didn't quite get it. Because be braver than that. Put up your hands higher, because I'm expecting a lot of people to say they didn't get it. Is that because you didn't understand the language? No. It's not at all, is it? You don't understand the background knowledge which is necessary for you to get it. The cultural ideas. And it's all about, this is the point, it's moving away from the tendency to assume it's all about pre-teaching vocabulary and language, and more importantly, to pre-teach the cultural background knowledge which is necessary to understand or appreciate or get the material. And how do we do that? Well, a lot of teachers I've seen, I've worked with, shy away from this idea. They become slightly unhappy, uneasy about how they approach that. What I find myself doing more and more and more as I use video clips like this, more and more as I go off-piste, is to develop and prepare short presentations, visually enhanced, for my students, which will equip them with the background knowledge, the ideas, the culture required in order to get the clip. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The question for you. If art communicates, what does this communicate to us? What is the message behind this image? The person that created this, what does he want to say? Now, you don't have to answer that. Just put yourself in your student's position. These are the questions that you throw at them. Is it a genuine Emin? Who or what is Emin? I know that some of you know, I know that some of you don't. Who or what is Emin? What would you say? Maybe you might say she's a fashion designer, designing fancy knickers. The man here, his name is Charles Sirota. Here he is here. What do you think he does for a living? What is his job? Again, these are questions for your learners. This is a presentation to have prepared, but in actual fact, the presentation is an interactive one. It consists of questions, doesn't it? He's a curator. What does a curator do? A curator is involved with galleries and museums. What is a curator's job? He's actually director of the Tate. What is the Tate? Where is the Tate? Who's been to the Tate? Have you been to the Tate recently? The Tate is the United Kingdom's national gallery for British and modern art. Do you have a national gallery for art in your own country? Where is it? What's it called? Now, Nicholas Sirota, the man you've just seen, is also chairman of a very, very famous prize called, does anyone know? The Turner Prize. Have you ever heard of the Turner Prize? Well, it's a very, very famous prize in this country. By the way, I know you know, this is just pretending you're my students. You know that, don't you? The Turner Prize is a prize, an annually awarded prize. Nicholas Sirota, this man you've just seen, is the chairman. It's awarded to young British-based artists, and it's very much associated with what kind of art? Can you guess? What's the missing word? Give me as many collocations as possible that go with art. Modern art, conceptual art,
Visual
contemporary art, visual art, fine arts. There's lots of collocations to explore here. Which one do you think is the missing collocate? It's conceptual art, yes. Taking us to Tracy Emin, what's her job? What does she do?
She's an artist.
She's an artist. What type? A conceptual artist, yes. Let me tell you a story. One day, Tracy Emin was having a very, very bad depression. And she had to get an entry in for the Turner Prize. But she wasn't inspired. She was depressed, a very, very serious time of depression. She woke up one morning and she looked at her bed. And she thought, what a mess. What have I turned into? I know. That's what I'm going to enter into the Turner Prize. I'm going to title it, My Bed. And although it didn't win the Turner Prize in 1999, it was shortlisted. And it came to be a defining image for the Turner Prize. You've seen it before, haven't you? Now, meanwhile, while this is all going on, there's a group of artists that call themselves the Stuckists. The Stuckists. And they react. They still react. They reacted then. They still react now against this type of culture, this conceptual art, which they think is rubbish. They call themselves the Stuckists. This is their banner, Stuckism International. And one member of the Stuckists, one founding member's name is Charles Thompson, decided that enough was enough. He decided to paint a picture to ridicule Tracy Emin and her bed and her dirty knickers, which were a part of it, and he painted this painting. So now I hope that if you're my students, and we've negotiated this presentation, this teacher-led knowledge impartation, can I say that? Which has been very interactive. I'm hoping that you are now equipped with all of that background knowledge, the cultural ideas, everything that's essential for you to understand what is necessary for that clip. And the clip that you saw, who is the presenter? It's Jeremy Paxman. He's an institution, isn't he? Giving the hard time is my shoe art. The important thing here was negotiated, wasn't it? In creating this presentation, I actually considered questions to put to my students, and that's the important part. This turns it into not a teacher-centred necessarily presentation, no, it's teacher-centred mathematically or teacher-led. It's more important that it's engaging and it's interactive. It doesn't just equip with knowledge and cultural ideas, also there's going to be some lexis gets in there, like conceptual art. This was just an excuse to explore collocations of the word art. Okay, that's the first activity over. What did you think? Can you give it a mark out of 10? No, don't. What I'm saying here, make use of your voice. Don't be scared to use your voice to pre-teach cultural knowledge. Let's move on to the second thing I had, which was materials which are not created to illustrate a language point. Now this drives me crazy. Because I present quite a lot about using video and online materials, and I really like grammar just to be taken when it arises. If a preposition comes up here, a present perfect here, if a passive here, then just meet them and tackle them as you go along. But of course, our culture dictates really that we are grammatical beings, and we want to know the grammar, and it's almost on a weekly basis. I'm asked, okay, so you can do this, you can use all these off-piste materials, but how do you do the grammar points? And that's the toughest question. I'm trying to work on it. I don't know if I have the answer yet, but I'm working on it, so you've got to give me some time, okay? Let me show you a couple of ideas. A question for you. Does anybody know what an ambulance chaser is? Lawyers. I'll do this. It's great, this question to ask with your students, because they take it literally, and I teach and work in Spain, and a lot of people I work with assume that it's going to be someone in a moped following an ambulance in the wake of that traffic-free zone in order to get somewhere quicker, which happens a lot, but that's not what an ambulance chaser is. I think the term ambulance chasers come from the USA, am I right? Yeah. And what did you say it was? Now this is, let me explain what I'm doing here. I've found a text, I really, really love it. I want to use it with my students, but it contains some cultural ideas, this being one of them. Rather than a teacher-led and class-negotiated presentation like the last one, I'm just going to show you an ambulance chaser, and I hope you're going to see exactly what an ambulance chaser is and what it is that an ambulance chaser does. You ready?
Have you been injured, had an accident at work, or on the road, or in a public place? Unsure if you have a claim for compensation? Concerned about hidden charges? Now, there is no need to worry. The Personal Injury Helpline will handle your claim with no charges and nothing taken from the money you're awarded. So, for a risk-free quality service, call us free now on 0800 085 1715. If you don't make the call, you'll never know.
So make that call. Next time I do that, I'm going to take the microphone out of the slot. It was a good idea, wasn't it? It's sort of almost how an idea evolves. Little by little, you think, pick up the microphone stand, great idea, but then you look like a sausage. So next time I was going to do that. So you know what an ambulance chaser now is, don't you? I mean, we can reinforce this with more questions. What does an ambulance chaser do specifically? How does an ambulance chaser make his or her money? Put up your hand if you're still not sure what an ambulance chaser is. I'm sure there will be a number of people here. No? Everybody? So an ambulance chaser, how does an ambulance chaser make his money? Well, he comes to people who have had accidents. He persuades them. An ambulance chaser's mantra is, somebody is always to blame for your accident. And that's the creativity involved in being an ambulance chaser. So he or she persuades you, the victim of the accident, to take that person or take that guilty party to court, to sue them, to get money for compensation. He or she keeps a bit for himself and you take the rest. That's an ambulance chaser's job. Remember, somebody's always to blame. Even if you fell down your own stairs, you can take the person that built them to court. The point is, I want to set up a text. This is the text I want to set up. And understanding what an ambulance chaser is and does is essential for you to actually get this. Can you read it at the back? This is a transcription from a short video clip. If you transcribe the explicit text from a video clip like this, and you present it to the participants or the students or the learners in isolation of the full picture, something very interesting happens. In black and white, you're severely denied that full picture, which is, if you were at Peter Grundy's talk, you can see how things are developing here. There's no context, there's no thought process behind that language. Natural tasks jump out at you. For example, who is A, who is M? Is A male or female? Is M male or female? Maybe most importantly, where are they? Have they just met? Have they known each other for a long time? What's the situation? These are all questions which require you to ask yourself questions about the bigger picture. I like to get students to act this out. Some students imagine that they're just met in a bar. Some students will say that it's a job interview. Others decide that it's speed dating. Have you ever done that? You wouldn't say yes, would you? Let me show you. This comes from a clip called The Weakest Link.
What do you do, Marcus?
I'm a claims advisor.
Oh. And how do you find customers?
Some find us, some people we find in the street, and some people we knock on the doors.
You knock on people's doors, and what do you say?
We just tell them we're in there at the moment, and we're trying to find people that are entitled to compensation.
Oh, you're ambulance chasers.
We are very much ambulance chasers.
Yeah, so you're responsible for our insurance premiums going up and up and up, because you're encouraging people who wouldn't normally claim to claim so you can make money.
Correct.
Put your hand up if you're not based in the UK. Keep your hand up if you have the franchise, the version of this program, The Weakest Link, in your country. Keep your hands up. Put them down if you don't. That was a confusing question. Bad instructions. Bad teacher. Take note. So where are you from? I know where you're from. Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Brazil, and you have this format, this program, and is it the same? Does the quiz master have to be malicious and say nasty things about the contestants?
Not that bad.
Yeah. Is it? Where else? Who else put up their hand? Let's see your hand. Yeah. Where are you from?
Turkey.
Turkey, and you have this program.
We had two versions at the same time, two different channels. One of the women was exactly the same.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Who else? One more. Yeah, where are you from?
Serbia.
Serbia. And you have this format, this program.
I do watch this one, BBC.
And is the presenter nasty in the Serbian version?
I do watch the BBC one.
Great. So this is The Weakest Link, and the quiz master, her name is Anne Robinson. It's her job to be really nasty to the contestants, to try to break them down. Why do people want to go and do that on television? We'll never know. What we're looking at here is material which was not designed from the classroom. We've already mentioned the cultural ideas and background knowledge that's necessary. That's not what we're focusing on here, although it's very, very relevant. We're looking at pieces of language, pieces of material rather, and how to get grammar from them. This is a trick that I use again and again and again. In fact, if you go onto my website and analyse my activities, I'll be scared that you might discover that I've only got one trick of the trade. It's very, very simple. I want to teach question forms. I want to teach have you question forms. Anne is going to ask Marcus a have you question form. I want you to predict what that have you question form is. That's all you have to do. I want everybody, if you were my students, you don't have to do this, to write down their idea on a piece of paper or in your notebooks. There's a have you question form. Perhaps we've already done a bit of presentation, a bit of practice, whatever. Maybe this is the production stage. It doesn't matter where you slot it into the bigger picture of the activity, but I want everybody to guess what have you question Anne is going to come up with here. So it could be have you got, have you past participle, doesn't matter. Give me a couple of examples, ideas. What's she going to ask? What's Anne's next question?
Have you ever claimed money?
Have you ever claimed money? Yeah, great. What else? More. Give me two more. Have you ever had an accident? Excellent. Yes?
Have you got a girlfriend?
Have you got a girlfriend? Okay. Let's see who's right. We're going to watch it to the end now, another minute. We're going to watch it to the end. And she gives him a hard time with something else that I find quite interesting. You ready?
Have you always had hairy arms?
Since I was about 12, so not always, but a long time.
And don't you think it'd be quite scary if you knocked on my door with your hairy arms?
I wear a long sleeve shirt during work.
Do you?
Yes. Unless it's the summer, then I might wear a short sleeve one.
Right. Have all your family got hairy arms?
My mother doesn't, but my brothers do.
Really? And if I said I'd tripped over a paving stone, where'd you come from?
I come from Bury in Lancashire.
If I said I'd tripped over a paving stone in Lancashire, could you help me?
So long as you wasn't wearing high heels at the time, then yes,
You
no
can't
problem.
say so long as you wasn't.
I just did do.
Can you say it grammatically?
So long as at the time you wasn't wearing your high heels.
No. Don't you know what you're saying wrong?
Double negative? I don't know, no.
No. Why, Sarah?
I feel she got a couple of questions wrong.
What do you do, Angela?
I'm a receptionist.
Are you? Have you got hairy arms?
I don't think so.
Do you like that? It's fun, isn't it? And look at all those issues. The thing about going off-piste and using online materials which weren't designed specifically for language learning or language teaching is that they are just saturated in issues and potential. Unfortunately, it's not often neat, packaged, illustrative examples of grammar. But this is a trick that as I said, I use again and again and again. Within this bigger piece of material, just exploit it to take a little grammar point out of it, to make your learners happy, maybe to make yourself happy as well. That being have you questions. Have you ever, for example, or have you got? Have you eaten? Have you been? Have you liked? Have you loved? Whatever it is. Everybody comes up with a different question. Everybody writes their different question down on a little piece of paper. You collect them all in. Then you work with it. You recast it, we often say. We polish it. We correct it. We take what's great. We work with it. And then you've got, if you've got 12 students, you've got 12 examples of language. That's your language point. But of course, it's more than that. Another way of looking at things is the importance of embracing linguistics, the type of thing that we were talking about this morning in the plenary, the importance of embracing linguistics. And you see the issues that come through at this, that are thrown at us, this idea of prestigious language, dialectual forms. It's not just linguistics, it's sociolinguistics. Who is right? Who is wrong? Is Anne right? Is he being ungrammatical? I think that any linguist would say, well, no, he's not being ungrammatical, he's being 100% grammatical, it's just that his grammar is different to Anne's. So Anne can criticise in certain situations, but it's difficult for her to say in all sincerity that it's being ungrammatical. Whether or not he should change his way of speaking is a different issue altogether, isn't it? So look for little ways. I mean, look for, one thing I do in the bigger picture, using this, going off-piste, look in the material. I think it's much more valuable to have one single good example of a language point and exploit that to its full, rather than a text which was designed to have, let's say, 10 examples of used to, each one being quite weak and dilute. I much prefer to have a piece of material like this with one solid, good example of a target language and really exploit that, use the piece of material as a stepping stone, as a springboard onto that language point, and look at it from there. Then you can go on to the Jiggy Murphy or whatever it is you want to do. Of course, too. So that's the idea. Embrace linguistics and exploit single good examples. Okay, that's the end of activity 2. How was that for you? You have to lie. Okay, this third activity. Again, texts which are not adapted. Texts which are not adapted. Now I'm looking here more specifically at audio texts and video texts. What I mean is the explicit ones. Talking about, for example, song lyrics. What you've just seen here in these 2 videos is 2 video texts. The first one was a 3-person debate, or 2-person debate, hosted rather. The second one was a dialogue. Those are video texts. And the problem with video texts, the problem with audio texts that are given to us explicitly is we can't change them, can we? How do we change them? If we want to use them with our learners, we can't make adaptations like we can with a piece of paper. We copy, paste, change, print off in this version we want. Are you with me here? In fact, you can. It's very, very easy. It's very, very easy. So for these pieces of material, video, audio, which have not been adapted for language learners, adapted, I'm saying, not created, have not been adapted, the key is adapt them. It's a mystery poem. Do you like poems? It was World Poem Week a few weeks ago, wasn't it? I'm going to give you a poem. In fact, you're going to give me the poem back, because we're going to do a drill chant. Do you like Jill Trance? Jill Trance? Who's Jill Trance? Is Jill Trance? Is she here? Drill chant. Do you like drilling? Let me hear you say yeah if you like drilling. Okay, well if you don't want to get involved, you don't have to, because quite honestly, if I was in your position, I probably wouldn't. But if there's a few people who do, I'll be very happy. All you have to do is copy me. All you have to do is copy me. I'm going to try and drill in 4 ways. One using my fingers, one using my arm, one using my hands, fingers, hands, arms. Okay? Repeat after me. This is a mystery poem. Your task is, you've got 2 tasks for the price of 1, because I want to give you value for money. Your task is not just to repeat and chant after me, but think, what is the title of the poem? What is the title of the poem? And the title of the poem is a single word. And it's not actually contained in the text that I'm going to drill. Okay? Are you with me? Does that make sense? Okay. So it's very simple. Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Are you looking at me?
Are you looking at me?
Is everybody looking at me?
Is everybody looking at me?
No, don't look over there.
Don't look over there.
There's nothing to look at over there.
There's nothing to look at over there.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Excellent. You want what?
You want what?
What do you want?
What do you want?
You want to go to the toilet.
You want to go to the toilet.
You want what?
You want what?
What do you want?
What do you want?
You want to go to the kitchen.
You want to go to the kitchen.
You want what?
You want what?
What do you want?
What do you want?
You want to go to sleep.
You want to go to sleep.
Okay, excellent. In that case, well, that was just an ad-lib. Get up.
Get up.
Go to the kitchen.
Go to the kitchen.
Come back.
Come back.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Get up.
Get up.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
Go to sleep.
Go to sleep.
Get up.
Get up.
Come back.
Come back.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Get up.
Get up.
Go to the toilet.
Go to the toilet.
Go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom.
If you prefer.
If you prefer.
If you're American. Come back.
Come back.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Look at me.
Look at me.
Oops.
Oops.
Get up.
Get
Go
up.
back to the toilet.
Go back to the toilet.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Come back.
Come back.
Sit down.
Sit down.
Look at me.
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 Look at
Are you looking at me? Is everybody looking at me? Okay. That's the poem. Thank you. What's the title of the poem? And it's not the neurotic English teacher. What did you say? Look at me. Ah, the language, the title of the poem is not actually contained within the text. Yes.
The watch.
Sorry?
The clock or the watch?
The clock, the watch. Nice idea. I can see where you're coming from. Any other ideas? Television. Who said that? Excellent idea. Any more? Imitation. Okay. The point of this activity is it's an adapted text. My text that which I've just drilled, that which we have chanted, has been very much adapted. I've taken the original and I've changed it. I've incorporated that repetitive element, which is actually there in the original one, but I've exploited it a bit further. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
When you see it, all should be revealed, and you will see the title of the poem without actually being given it explicitly.
Look at me! 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 No, don't look over there! There's nothing to look at over there! Look at me! Look at me! Look at me! Are you looking at me? Is everybody looking at me? Do I have everyone's attention? Don't get the wrong idea. I'm not trying to take over your life. You need what? What do you need? What do you need? You need to what? Go to the bathroom? Fine. Get up. Go to the bathroom. Come back. Look at me. You need what? You need to get something to eat? Fine. Get up. Go to the kitchen. Get something to eat. Come back. Look at me. You need to what? Sleep? Fine. Get up. Go to bed. Go to sleep. Get up. Come back. Look at me. Okay. So we have an agreement. You will do what you absolutely have to do, and when you're done, you will come back and look at me. Don't worry about your schedule. I am here for you. I am here for you. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I am here for you. I am here for you. You need me. I'm here. Fair and foul, thick and thin. I am here for you. I am here for you. People try to tell you I'm bad. You tell them that I am here for you. 24 hours a day, fair and foul, thick and thin. I am here for you. I am here for you. People try to tell you I'm bad. You know what it sounds like to me? Sour grapes. You see what I mean? No, don't look over there. There's nothing to look at over there. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I've got stuff you wouldn't believe. Danger, sex, action, death, thrills, comedy, all here, all in the next 8 minutes. Can you believe it? You can't believe it. You can't believe it? It's unbelievable. You can't believe it because it's unbelievable. It's a miracle. Just keep looking at me. Just keep looking at me. Just keep looking at me. Look 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 at me.
Somebody was right. Somebody got the answer. So, well done, television. So what's the point? Well, the point is, when you go off-piste, online materials are not created for language learners. Don't be a slave to the material. Don't think you have to let the material dictate the tasks to you. Don't feel you have to be a slave to every word. Adapt it. This works especially well if you isolate the components, especially video. I love video so much because it's multi-layered. I'm presenting you the text in black and white, denying you the full picture. You build up your understanding, your appreciation of the text by asking questions about that full picture. It prolongs engagement and curiosity. Actually, it also gives the teacher a certain amount of power, which is quite a valuable thing, especially teaching teenagers. Let's just recap here, conclusion. Potential track 1, material not created specifically for language learners. We saw the art clip. Make use of your voice, that tool which is often neglected because we're not allowed to use it. And make interactive presentations with your learners to equip them with the background, cultural ideas and knowledge. Potential trap number 2, materials not created specifically to illustrate a grammar point. Exploit a single good excerpt and embrace linguistics, especially the idea of variation of language. A lot of teachers may shy away from that, and students may not be quite into it, but at least it allows you to diffuse any potential explosive language bombs in the classroom. We all know what they're like. Number 3, material not adapted for language learners. Adapt it. Don't be a slave to the material. Now, it's time to tell you something that happened, and I think this is the 3rd time I've done this talk. And the last time I did it, I realised that it was having an identity crisis. It was schizophrenic, to be honest. It was 2 talks in one, and I was a bit confused. So that's the end of the first talk. So you're getting 2 at the price of 1. And we've only got maybe 8 minutes left for the second one. So I decided to arrange it into Pecha Kucha. Who's going to Pecha Kucha tomorrow? So if a Pecha Kucha, or a Pechachka if you prefer, how many slides are we dealing with in a Pechachka? 20 seconds per slide, am I right?
Yeah.
So I'm not really looking forward to this, I have to say. But I'm not scared, I am scared. Yes, I am. Let me do this for you. Okay, so Pechachka, Pecha Kucha, 20 slides, 20 seconds each. 6 minutes, 40 seconds. The best way I can force myself to get the second talk in and make sure that the talk itself isn't so two-sided that it gets confused in its identity, because that wouldn't be very nice, would it? Okay, are we ready?
Yeah. Are you?
No. Okay, and go. Okay. Could I ask you to put up your hands here if you're wearing underwear? Oh, almost everybody. Put your hands down. Put your hands back up if you think that your underwear, or if you consider it to be authentic.
What is authentic underwear?
It's a strange question, isn't it?
Definitely.
Do you remember that? It was a term, maybe more common, maybe 10 years ago, especially for jeans and underwear. Authentic boxer shorts. What does authentic actually mean when you're talking about underwear? I've got no idea. It's a marketing term. It means good. It's as simple as that. I want to put a parallel between the question, is it authentic, and is it art? There's a very strong parallel between them. We've already seen this today. We've seen this question, is it art, debated by two people. We had Charles, the stuckist, who claims that for him, if it's labelled art, it's necessarily high. It requires creativity, mastery and skill, aesthetics. And he, if it's labelled art, it must be good. Brad, on the other hand, is not moved by any definitions. He's much more interested in whether it's good or whether it's bad. In fact, the problem is the difference they share. They don't share the same tastes. That's much more the essence of what's going on here. So, is it art is always going to be a futile question. And surely, the same applies to authenticity. Is it authentic is a pointless question. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it engaging? Is a much more important one. Let's look at some examples of materials we may use in the classroom and try to decide if they're authentic or not. The Wall Street Journal, certainly not designed for language learners, am I right? It must be authentic. It must be the highest degree of authenticity the classroom has ever known. But it's been highly criticised by little visual communicators and graphic designers for not including, in a general sort of way, images and pictures on its front cover. This comes from an article, this quote. So in fact, the Wall Street Journal could be criticised for jeopardising its potential to communicate, for holding on to a prestigious idea. Is that authentic? I don't know. Let's imagine we're not at an ELT conference, but we're at a literature conference for academics. Would you attend this talk? I hope you can see it at the back. Can you see this at the back? It doesn't really matter if you can't read it. In fact, it's probably better that you can't. It's an example of an academic trying to bamboozle us with language that goes right over our heads. We definitely don't get it. It's not there to communicate. It's there to impress. Is that authentic? This is something my English teacher once wrote in a composition. She just wrote I'll never forget that. It's quite harsh. So is that authentic? I don't know. Is it important? No. Is it good? No. Is it bad? Yes. How about children's literature? Has anyone ever read this book? Now, Sandy is definitely going to have something to say about that. Is children's literature inauthentic? It's written with a very specific target group in mind. Language learners. Would we even be so absurd to entertain the fact that children's literature may be inauthentic? I certainly wouldn't. So why should language learner literature be tainted with the same idea? This is Antoinette, who I just saw a wee while ago, wrote this, a beautiful book, Jojo's Story. It's an original piece of fiction for language learners. It's beautiful. Antoinette has taken a task of communicating. That's the point. I would say that's very authentic. How about this? Scripts. I'm always confused about scripts. Are they authentic or inauthentic? I don't know. I mean, it's not a spontaneously produced language. Do you know where this comes from? Yeah. Pulp Fiction, yes. I love using this in the classroom. It doesn't mean it's a language I want to equip my students with. Text, well, they must be authentic. Do you know this?
Yeah.
It's best that you don't know this just as well. This is awful. It must be authentic by the same definition. I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. Is it good? No, it's awful. It's one of the best sitcoms the world has ever had the misfortune of being introduced to. It's really, really bad, isn't it? Is it authentic? Well, by its definition, we have to say yes. What about corpora? It must be the epitome of authenticity. We turn to them in moments of confusion and unclarity. Corpora must give us. I've loved corpora in the past. I've shared corpora examples, illustrative examples with my students. Unfortunately, my students have generally hated them. 3 examples to illustrate still, I still love you. In fact, he still had the worst. A mayor called Bint Pommerman, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing more inauthentic than brutally ripping language from its natural habitat and presenting it to students in isolation, denying them of genre and image. This is authentic. This comes from another corpus. I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer. The corpus in question is Amazon, a fantastic resource for titles that you can find illustrative examples like still to give to your students. It's fantastic. And we're dealing with text, but surely images can also be either authentic or inauthentic. You'd have to concede that this is an inauthentic image. The panda did not photograph this little boy. The image was set up. It's inauthentic, we could claim. Do I like it? I love this image. I've used this a lot in my class with my students. On the other hand, whenever I go to Madrid, I'm met by this image at the airport. Is it inauthentic? Is it authentic? I have no idea, but I hate it. I don't know why I hate it so much. This guy, look at him. He's young, he's successful, he's rich, he's made it, yet he's still got that childlike quality. He's not scared to play with a panda. But what is he playing? He's playing slappers. I mean, he's probably going to hit that panda, and the panda's just going to... I don't know, it's dirty, I hate it. It's much more important to use materials, texts, and tasks which are engaging than those which are labelled often arbitrarily as authentic. And that's the point. That is the biggest trap of all. The biggest authenticity trap you can find yourself in is to claim that something is good because it's authentic, or possibly much more dangerously, to claim that something is bad and to react accordingly because something is not authentic. When you do that, you're talking pants. Thank you very much.